The rain kept falling. Washington, D.C. was covered in sirens, silence, and secrets. Inside a quiet media control room at Al Jazeera's headquarters, Lena Romani replayed the interview. She paused the video right at the moment Karoline said, "I'm putting them on notice." Her producer stood behind her, arms crossed. "She knew," he whispered. "She knew the cyber attack was coming." Lena didn't respond. Her eyes were focused on Karoline's face. Calm, controlled, dangerous. Back at the federal courthouse, the judge paced alone in his chambers. The Department of Justice had frozen the trial. No explanation. No contact. His legal assistant knocked twice and entered with a fresh report. "There's been a memo leaked," she said, voice low. "It's spreading fast through encrypted journalist networks. Supposedly, it connects the National Security Council to hidden diplomatic clauses in the Gaza ceasefire." The judge looked up slowly. "Was it authenticated?" "No one knows. But journalists are already calling it the Karoline Papers." The judge sat down. His hands trembled. They're about to lose control of the narrative. At that moment, inside the White House Situation Room, the president sat quietly at the head of the table. Around him were his chief of staff, the National Security Advisor, and the Secretary of Defense. The NSA director spoke first. "Sir, the cyber attack was not foreign. The IP trail bounces inside our own network, likely whistleblower-level access. Probably tied to that press secretary." The president's voice was low but clear. "Karoline Leavitt." The Secretary of Defense nodded. "She's become a symbol now. If she drops the Gaza file, we'll be facing not just legal scrutiny, but global moral outrage." The president rubbed his forehead. "Have we made contact?" "Not directly," said the chief of staff, "but Langley is watching her closely." The president looked at the wall screen. A paused frame of Karoline's Al Jazeera interview stared back at him. "She wants us to react emotionally. We won't," he said. "Offer her a meeting. Quiet. Off record. Tell her we're willing to hear her concerns. Make her feel safe. Then contain her." Across town, Karoline stood in her apartment, staring at a small wooden box on her table. Inside it were 2 USB drives and a handwritten note. The note was from someone she once trusted in the intelligence community. It read, "One file gets you respect, the other gets you hunted. Choose which world you want to live in." Her phone buzzed. A new message. "White House requests closed-door meeting. No cameras. National interest discussion only. Your terms. Midnight." Karoline turned to her aide. "Get me a burner phone. And call our contact in Brussels." Her aide froze. "Brussels?" Karoline nodded. "It's time we bring in the European press. If this thing vanishes here, it needs to explode somewhere else." By 11:45 p.m., Karoline arrived at a private residence in Georgetown. Not the White House, but close enough. The Secret Service escorted her through a back entrance. No media, no noise. Inside, she found herself in a small room with 2 chairs, a table, and the chief of staff waiting. He smiled gently, offering water. "We just want to talk," he said. Karoline sat down. "Good. Then listen." She pulled out a single document, a summary of communications between U.S. and Israeli officials during the ceasefire deal. It contained details of delayed humanitarian aid, strategic drone positions, and 3 redacted names of civilians who were reportedly sacrificed for timing. The chief of staff's face went pale. "This hasn't been published," Karoline said. "Not yet." He swallowed. "What do you want?" She leaned in. "I want a public inquiry, not behind closed doors. I want the American people to know that their government traded silence for blood. I want truth without filters." "That's impossible," he whispered. "It'll break international law." She didn't blink. You already broke it. At that exact moment, the screens in the Situation Room at the Pentagon went black. Then, slowly, a message appeared on all of them. Leavitt file drop initiated. Mirror server. Europe. Live feed. 30 minutes. Chaos erupted. Back in Georgetown, the chief of staff's phone buzzed again and again. He didn't even check it. Karoline stood. You had your chance to come clean. Now the world gets to decide. She walked out. In the heart of Brussels, inside the headquarters of a major global news agency, reporters were already downloading the encrypted files. Editors stood in silence as paragraph after paragraph confirmed what many feared: that during a critical 72-hour ceasefire in Gaza, U.S. intelligence coordinated indirect strikes by withholding information. The headlines were already being written. Ex-press secretary releases shocking Gaza memo, proof of U.S. complicity. Humanitarian law violated. New leak sparks global reaction. Washington spins, Brussels speaks. And across the Atlantic, Karoline sat quietly in a black SUV, watching her own story break on foreign news first. This wasn't just a leak. It was a revolution of information, and it had only just begun. The morning after the leak, America woke, up to fire. Not the burning kind, but one that scorched through headlines, phones, and every TV screen across the country. Karoline Leavitt's name wasn't just trending, it was everywhere. Cable news stations were locked in a war. CNN ran a full hour under the title, Whistleblower or Traitor. Fox News called it, The Deep State's Nightmare. Leavitt drops the files. Even MSNBC, which once dismissed her as too young to be serious, now sent a senior correspondent to Brussels to verify the files firsthand. But the real storm was outside the U.S. In Geneva, the United Nations held an emergency assembly after the leak revealed the strategic stalling of humanitarian aid in Gaza. Ambassadors from multiple countries demanded an international investigation into U.S. conduct during the ceasefire. A reporter from France 24 asked the question out loud. Did Karoline Leavitt just trigger the biggest political reckoning since Snowden? Inside a secure room at the Department of State, the Secretary of State sat motionless. The memo Karoline had dropped, the one everyone now called the Leavitt file, had been confirmed as authentic. No more denial. He leaned forward and said to his team, "We need to speak, not spin. If we bury this now, we won't survive the next week." His deputy shook her head. "The president wants silence. He's ordered a classified briefing for select senators only." Across town, Karoline sat in a small apartment in D.C. It wasn't hers. It belonged to a journalist friend from Europe who owed her a favor. No one knew she was there, not even her aide. She watched the coverage on her laptop, phone off. Her hands trembled slightly. She had released only part of what she had. The real bomb was still hidden. A soft knock on the door. It was her journalist friend. Tall, sharp, French accented. He held a newspaper in his hand. The headlines screamed in bold red. Gaza deal exposed. Did U.S. trade blood for silence? He placed the paper down gently. "Karoline, they're coming for you." She looked up slowly. "Who?" "The people who don't want peace, or truth, or trials." Karoline sat back. Let them. But even she knew she had to move. She wasn't safe anymore, not legally, politically, or physically. The leaks had shattered the illusion of safety. At the Pentagon, a meeting was held behind locked doors. The defense secretary was furious. "She was just a press secretary," he shouted. Who the hell gave her access to level 4 communications? No one answered. A general spoke up. "Sir, there's something else. The leak included one timestamp that doesn't match anything in our archive." The room fell silent. "What are you saying?" The general cleared his throat. There may be a third party involved. Foreign. Possibly someone inside our intelligence partnerships. MI6 or Mossad. The defense secretary slammed his hand on the table. Get Langley on the phone, now. Meanwhile, inside the Capitol, Senator Ricardo Halston, a Republican known for his hawkish views, made a sudden move. He walked straight to the press gallery and called for a live statement. Microphones gathered. Cameras rolled. "Let me be clear," he began. "What Miss Leavitt has done is dangerous, but what she has exposed is unforgivable. If this administration orchestrated the delay of aid to manipulate global perception, then heads must roll. I demand an open congressional inquiry starting immediately." A buzz filled the halls of Congress. Some called it brave, others called it betrayal. But one thing was clear: the silence had broken. That evening, Karoline received a message on her encrypted laptop. It wasn't from Europe. It was from inside the U.S. unknown sender. "You still haven't used the second file. Are you ready to finish what you started?" She stared at the message. She knew exactly which file they meant. The one she hadn't released. The one that linked the Gaza timeline to covert U.S. oil interests and a private deal between two defense contractors and a foreign state. If she released it, it would not just shake Washington. It would crack NATO. But if she didn't, the media storm might pass. Politicians might blame her. History might forget. She typed back one word. Almost. Then, she picked up a phone. The burner she'd kept since the trial. She dialed a number in Iceland, a news agency known for releasing files that even WikiLeaks feared to touch. A voice answered, calm and neutral. "Ms. Leavitt, we've been expecting your call." She paused. "I want